Howdy, Fort Bend. William Ferguson coming to you today, and I am with one of the best judges we have in Fort Bend. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you are. I'm telling you now, Christian Becerra is one of the best. Christian, thank you so much for having us here today. We're excited to hear more.
I'm excited to be with you again.
Well, as you already know, because I mentioned this to you in a message, I said, a common friend that you and I have reached out to me recently and said, you would not believe all the great work going on. And I thought, oh gosh, what did Christian tell him, right? So what is a judge bragging about that's so good that would get her to reach out to me? And she literally said, William, would you go interview him again? I'm like, well, sure. So I love you, you know that. Tell us what is going on in 434.
Well, I invited some folks from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention.
That's it.
To come sit down with us and actually observe our mental health docket. Okay, so we've got a specialty court here in Fort Bend County. I didn't start the court. Court was started by Judge Elliott. We've made a few minor tweaks to the court. We're working with the DA's office hand in hand. Donna Mahmoudi is the lead prosecutor. The public defender's office here in Fort Bend County is also working with us. And what we're trying to do is to work with those affected by mental illness.
Wow.
And to keep them from going through that cycle of ending up coming back and forth through jail and back out on the streets. Wow. And committing more crimes and coming back to us. A quick story. All right, I love stories, you know that. Recently, and I want you to think about this. So why are we doing this, right? How does this help the community,
sure.
Right? Well, number one, we shouldn't have somebody struggling with mental illness in jail, right?
No.
Now, the question starts, well, what if they commit a crime, right? So let's talk about that.
Watch your cord.
So we're having this happen a lot because none of us in the community, a lot of us don't want to deal with our children when they're struggling with mental illness. We put labels on them. We see signs of addiction, drug abuse. Or we have a young daughter or son that comes to us and says, man, Dad, I'm struggling with right. stress. I have depression. And all they can think about is, well, man, I've worked so hard to put us up here in Sweetwater and you're going to Clemens High School. What kind of issues can you have?
Yeah.
But when we ignore it and it reaches ahead. So let's think of a young person who's going through a crisis at home and she's been struggling with mental illness and mom and dad are ignoring her. And finally she's had enough and she's running around the house and mom's trying to, corner her in the kitchen, says, well, just tell me what's going on. And she goes, just leave me alone. Reaches, picks up the closest thing to her, which is a knife.
Right.
She waves it at mom and says, just leave me alone. Mom doesn't know what to do. She calls the police. Sugar Land PD shows up. And they say, Mom, what happened? Well, my daughter, I don't know what to do with her. She pulled a knife, which is aggravated assault, deadly weapon, right?
Deadly weapon.
Arrest, action happens. So then they come into the courthouse and we've got someone that's charged with a felony charge that we've got to deal with in my courtroom. So that's a rare exception, but that happens from time to time. Another example that I'll give you recently, and this all changed because now we have a psychiatrist that works at the jail, okay? We also have my mental health team, the prosecutor, defense attorney. I think it's Lieutenant Solon over it. I think it's Lieutenant. I hope I'm not selling his rank short.
You're in trouble now.
But they all sit together and they talk about new inmates, that some of them that are exhibiting signs of having mental illness.
Sure.
When that happens, the psychiatrist sits down, does an evaluation. And I'll tell you a story about somebody that we recently had. 35-ish-year-old gentleman who family had kicked him out. He's living on the streets because they thought he had been, he was addicted to drugs, right? It was all signs of drug addiction. It was stealing from his parents to buy drugs on the street. They had enough with him. They sent him out, get out. So he's living on the street and he's our problem, Fort Bend County's problem.
Right.
Commits some offense. I'm not going to talk about what the offense was. I don't remember, to be honest. But when he went to jail, and Solon and those guys saw him exhibiting signs of mental illness, they had him evaluated. Come to find out, diagnosis was severe bipolar disorder.
Come on.
Okay? started giving him medication.
They identified.
They had well, he had a doctor that finally met with him.
Beautiful.
And he got so he's diagnosed severe bipolar disorder, starts taking medication.
Sure.
Life-changing event for him. Finally, at 35, 38 years old, he'd been properly diagnosed, properly medicated, and taken the proper meds.
Right.
Life changed. When you go back and you look at his history, everything that he had done up to this point was because of his undiagnosed mental illness.
Wow.
So he was out there self-medicating, right? When he was up, he's finding drugs. When he's down, he's finding drugs just to moderate himself, to keep him stable.
Right.
So now we've got him on medication. We invite the family to come into the courtroom with us, and that's what she saw. So when we have our mental health docket, everybody in the room has been earmarked to having a mental illness. They're struggling with the case, and we try to help them to learn how to be successful. We've got social services in here. I've got entities.
Wow.
I'm looking for a word right now.
It's okay. Make it up. We'll believe you. You're a judge.
I have groups from within the community, nonprofits,
Sure.
that come to our docket because I've been inviting as many of them as we can because we still don't have the funding that we need to continuously, successfully run a program like that. And frankly, I don't want it to be on the bill of the taxpayers.
Amen.
If we can find nonprofits that are willing to work with us and come in, so we come in, I sell the court on them, and it's not hard to do, as you know.
It's
right?
their role.
So then they want to help us. So I've got all these groups working to try to make this person successful. But what I've seen is families come back together. Right. And I've seen these people, once they get through our program and they graduate, all they want to do is come back and help us with the people that are still struggling. So it's a great program. We tinkered with it a little bit with the initial program that was started by Judge Elliott. It's grown. I think we have about 180 defendants in the court now.
Unbelievable.
But it's something new that we're trying. And I know that some of the questions are, well, man, you're spending a lot of time working. This comes out of my schedule. Right. It's something that I want to do, and it's making our community better. And if you think about it, why are we spending so much time? Why not just send them to the penitentiary? Number one, you shouldn't be in the penitentiary because you have a mental illness. Number two, if we don't deal with it, and we send them to the penitentiary for 2 years and they get out in 6 months, they're going to come back after they've lived through the experience of being in the penitentiary, and they're going to be a bigger problem for our community.
Sure.
So it helps. It helps reduce crime. It helps reduce recidivism, and it's working.
Yeah, but you have to invest your emotion, your time, and your concern. Oh, yeah, that pays off.
It pays off.
Yeah.
And we have time.
Isn't that great?
We've talked before about the duties of a judge and trying to expand those duties and going from 1 docket a week to 5 dockets a week, or coming to work every day and finding, my staff and Deputy Ruff over there, they love it because I keep pushing that finish line, right? We get to a certain point and we're running smoothly. And I said, what else can we do?
More.
What else can we do? One of the things that we all have to do in the community is to get out and start talking about mental illness more. Because the more that we do that, I'm the end of the road. I'm the Band-Aid at the end of the road. But what I want to do, and the reason you always see me going out to the schools and talking at the high schools and talking to the parents and at the nonprofits and talking to elementary school kids and their parents and their teachers, is to try to erase that stigma.
Wow.
Because I would rather catch it then, so we don't have to deal with it in my courtroom.
So I think I told you, if I didn't, I think you'll find some sense of sad humor here. In Sugar Land, we have signs all up that say it's okay not to be okay, and then it has a contact for folks that are struggling, right?
Sure.
Depression or otherwise. And I have actually received complaints from the community saying that is a political sign that says it's okay to not be okay. And I'll be honest with you, you know what I've done with that? I've told them to contact the number that's on the sign. They may need help. I know that's sad humor.
No, it is.
But if that sign offends you, it's okay not to
listen.
be okay. Yeah.
We've come to a point in our in the political sphere that we work in where everybody's off in their corners and nobody's working together. But what I love about you is that you're willing to go out and work with people that want to get things done. And if we got rid of the labels that we have and the red and the blue and everything else, and just learned how to work together, then we could solve some issues.
Yeah, the red and blue is killing us. So
It is.
I guess, especially after what you just said, and those of you, I want to make sure you heard something that the judge said. When law enforcement comes to your home, there are rules and laws, if I may, that empower law enforcement to always protect the victims of family violence. So whether it's related to a mental health episode, whatever the situation is, the law enforcement that shows up at your door in your home, they have an obligation to prevent further violence. And in this case, if they identify the threat, it wasn't that they don't care about the young lady or young man's mental status. If it's a crime, it's a crime, and they've got to stop that. So you guys need to also understand that. I don't want you to think it's a heavy-handed move. It's what they have to do. It's an obligation they have.
And we're not trying to tell you not to call the police.
Yes, please do.
Sugar Land, the city of Sugar Land, is working so hard, and their crisis intervention team, the CIT team. So if you have to call the police in Sugar Land, they do have a CIT officer that will come out, and they've been trained to de-escalate situations, just like what we're talking about. Fort Bend County Sheriff's Office, I think, has 14 deputies right now assigned to the CIT team, the Crisis Intervention Team. And if you go to Fort Bend County Sheriff's website, or you go to the Sugar Land Police Department's website, you can see the information for the CIT group. And if you're having an issue, if your child is having an issue, or your brother, your sister, or someone in your family, call those units to come out and help. They will send a specialized unit to come out and try to de-escalate the situation, because if we can get that handled without taking them to jail, then we're in a much better place. Unfortunately, I'm going to say it, that we need more training for police officers. In fact, Judge Morales and I, the red and the blue working together. I know we did it. We went to Austin together to try to talk to the legislators there in Austin about giving us more funding to get more training for every officer. So every officer is trained in CIT. Didn't work out too well. And again, I'm going to speak out of line a little bit, but when we got to Austin, everybody wanted to talk about, the Democrats are doing this, or the Republicans are doing this. Chris Morales, a Republican judge, I'm a Democrat judge. We thought, because we were going together, that we could get them to listen to us, but all they wanted to do was talk about partisan politics. So
we have Dr. Lalani in 76.
Yes, I do.
And being that he's a doctor, and he and I are buddies, and I tell him all the time that I respect his knowledge and his wisdom. I cannot imagine he would not take this up.
And he's out in front trying to help us. Right.
Good. Dr. Lalani's been great.
But you know how it is. When we start talking about training officers, the unions get involved.
Don't get me started about unions. Education and other ones. Don't even get me started.
So we have to fight with it. But we found the answer. I found the answer. And the answer is going out and working with our nonprofits that are available to us. So we've got, at any time, we've got our Exchange Club here helping us with temporary housing. I've got our friends over at the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention helping us. I've got Attack Poverty helping us. I've got all of these different nonprofits that have bought into what we're trying to accomplish in our mental health team. And we're not only just doing it here in the courtroom. Again, man, we want to go out and help people in the community as well, so that criminal action doesn't take place and we can catch it before it becomes a problem of the 434th District Court.
That needs to be a thing. I got to come up with something. Safer Fort Bend. That'll be great. So, folks, you hear it. Now, last thing while I'm thinking about it, is there a program you're aware of within the building or within your court where a parent can bring their teenager out and they can kind of sit and watch, and it's relatively informal? They're not going to want to interfere and get in the way. This is serious stuff. So, is there any kind of program for parents?
So I think we've talked about this before. I work with every school district in Fort Bend County. Katy ISD, Fort Bend ISD. I get the GT kids from Fort Bend ISD. I work with the Miller Technology Center in Katy ISD. And just recently, this past year, we now have LCISD students coming out to observe. Right now, during the summer, I've had a bunch because I get out to all the schools and I go talk to the students to invite them to come. So I think right now, we have about 5 different high school students Some of them are getting dropped off when we have certain dockets. I talk to their parents, tell the parents this is because we deal with heavy stuff in this courtroom. But if they're willing and able, they come in and they sit with us. They sit back in the back with us, with my staff, and they observe the court proceedings. And then we go back into my office and we talk about what happened. So I've got a student from Elkins right now. I've got a student from Katy ISD, and I have another one that just graduated and is going into college next year, but he's coming back to sit with us. So we do this every year.
So what's the best way for a parent to understand that schedule? Do they email your court, or what's the
best thing to do would be to look up the 434th District Court on the website. Yeah, and it's 434 DC at fortbendcountytx.gov is our email. Send an email to me.
Sure.
Tell me that your child is interested, and I will personally respond. And if you leave a number on there for me, I'll call them. We can discuss it. Now, maybe we're full, but I can also talk to some of the other judges about having kids that are interested in going into the law. Maybe they're interested in going to social work and they want to sit through our mental health court. Maybe they're interested in the probation department. Whatever it is,
we may fill it up with homeschoolers.
Oh no, we can help.
Yeah, you never.
We can help. We're trying to open the courthouse to the public.
So, folks, I don't know if you've noticed something he's been doing, and this is how sneaky he is. Okay, you see that mug he has in his hand? He's doing it again. He's got a Longhorn mug, and he set it right here in front of his sign. He knew my son's an Aggie, my daughter's a Cougar, and he's holding a Longhorn. Now, you do know that Texas bought land in Sugar Land where they're going to supposedly build the largest MD Anderson.
Nice.
Off of University in 59.
It sounds like something
so you
Texas
can come
would do.
down. Now, I did propose something silly, and it was laughed at. As a rejection, it was laughed out. I knew it was rejected. I said, from the University of Houston campus, we could build a pedestrian bridge that crossed over University for the UT, right, property, watch this. And then we could put Texas A&M across it. And they laughed the whole idea out. So
you've got an Aggie and a Cougar.
I got an Aggie
and
a Cougar. Yeah,
so do I.
I'm in a mess. Yeah. And I love Texas because I'm a Texan.
Okay. Well, I can't wait.
Judge, thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Keep coming to see what we're doing in the 434th District Court. Open invitation to all you out there. Anytime you want to come see a docket, I'm going to say this, I'm going to brag a little bit. We're the busiest court in Fort Bend County.
Sadly, you're the busiest too.
We've got new dockets every day. We're trying to get rid of all the backlog that existed here in Fort Bend County and all over the state. But we're trying cases as much as we can. I have the best AJ downstairs, Judge R.G. Brain, that's working so hard to help us with our civil docket. So anytime you guys want to come down and see what we're doing in the 434th District Court, you have an open invitation.
Wow. So the new theme will be Judge Christian Becerra, watch this, making Fort Bend safe.
Like it.
All right.
I like it.
Bless you, Judge.
Thank you for coming.
You so much for your candor and being direct with our community. And I know they love it as much as I do.
Appreciate you.
God bless you. And as I always say, howdy Fort Bend, and I will see you again.